Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 427 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. How are you? I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're having an awesome day or night or afternoon, whatever time you're listening. Thank you for hanging out with me. I love it. So I was talking with a friend the other day, and she had been doing some work for another friend of hers as a favor. She loves to do things for other people. It brings her a lot of joy. And what she had done for this friend was actually a lot of work. It's not something I would want to do. But anyway, she did it, and she was so happy about it. She was showing me the end product, and I was really impressed. It amazes me so much, the creativity of people. And she was really happy with the end product. And so she was showing me pictures, and I was blown away. And so we kind of went along our way. Well, a few days later, I got a text from her, and it said, well, my husband pointed out to me that my friend that I did the work for doesn't really appreciate the things I do for her. And after giving it some thought, I know he's right. And now that's all I can think about. You see, she was going back and remembering all the nice things she had done for her friend in the past. And then she started focusing on, well, how unappreciative she really has been. That was where her mind was going. It was really making her kind of miserable. I laughed out loud when I got that text, though, because I can so relate. I mean, this friend tends to be like me. We love people, and things tend to roll right off our back, meaning we don't get easily annoyed. It takes a lot. But when some well-meaning person who may not be as lighthearted about things points something out, all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. That is a problem. But it wasn't a problem before. So why is it a problem now? Well, the reason is because we weren't looking for it to be. It never occurred to us to even view it as a problem. But now we see it everywhere. My friend and her experience reminded me of a little experiment that Tony Robbins used to do at his seminars. She probably still does, but because it's so effective. So he would have us all look around the room. He would start the experiment. He would say, okay, everyone, I want you to look around the room and really search the room and try hard to remember all of the things that you see that are red. So how many red shirts are in the room? Is there red in the art? Is there red in the furniture? He had us really study looking for red. And then he would ask us to close our eyes. And he would tell us to tell him all of the things that we noticed that were green. What? How could I notice green when all you had me focused on was red, silly? That was the point he was trying to make. Now we get it. When you're only looking for red, you're going to find red. You probably aren't even going to notice green, even if it's on the person standing right next to you. That's how the brain works. You get what you're looking for. And what you focus on is what ultimately makes you happy or, well, miserable. But it's not just what you focus on, it's also what you expect from your life. Have you ever been around people that things just always seem to work out for them? A lot of times it's because they expect for things to work out for them that they do. Eric and I have a couple friend that they're just the coolest people. They're so much fun. We really enjoy them. But things just always seem to work out for them. It's really fun to watch. And the more time I spend with her, the more I realize why. It's because she just automatically expects that things are going to work out, even if there doesn't seem to be a clear path to it. So they were recently looking at boats for their home that they plan to move into when they retire. Now, they've been on a waiting list for a while to get a boat slip for their community. So they really can't get a boat until they get a boat slip. But so they've been studying and looking, but they were on a wait list because they're hard to come by. And not only are they hard to come by, but they're expensive. But this couple, they just knew it was going to work out. They weren't worried about it. They knew it would work out fine. And they were actually on a waiting list for a slip a little farther away from their community because all of the boat slips right next to their home were taken, and it seemed like no one was going to let them go. They were in it for life. So they've been really patient, just knowing it would work out. And our friend is retiring in the next year, so he decides, well, maybe I better check in and ask about the wait list. So he runs into the office and asks them about the wait list. And while he was in there, and this was for renting a boat slip, the ones that they were on the wait list for. There was no buying them. It was renting them, not owning it. But while he was in there, the guy said, hey, just so happens that I don't know if you're interested in this part of the river or the lake, but just so happens that a man had just left that was selling his boat slip in this area. And it just so happened to be the area that they had originally wanted, that is right next to their house. And he was selling it. And he hadn't even put it on the market yet. And he said, here's his number if you want to talk to him. Well, of course, they immediately called him. Turns out he was selling it for what he paid for it. It was very inexpensive compared to what all of the other ones were. And they agreed right then and there. And so they would own it and they wouldn't just rent it. This is incredible. It's kind of doesn't happen. But life works out when you know it will. And they just knew it would work out in their favor. And it did. Now, it doesn't always work out in the way you think it will. They thought they would be lucky if they got to rent a community down the street. But it worked out to where they actually own one at a really great price in their neighborhood, right where they can walk to it, which is huge. So it is always working in your favor when you expect it to be. The things you expect and the things you focus on, those are what you can guarantee are heading your way in one way or another. So the question I have for myself and anyone listening, what are you expecting to happen in your life? Do you expect good stuff to happen, or do you just know things aren't going to work out because they never do? Are you focused on all the negative things, or are you focused on the positive things we have to choose from? They're both out there, and you get to decide which one you want to look for. It's when we focus on the bad stuff or expect the worst that we make ourselves miserable. We're more in control of our happiness than we were ever taught. I don't understand why, but that's how it is. We're miserable because we have a habit of allowing less than we deserve because we don't expect anything better. We're miserable because we focus on things that make us miserable. And yeah, it really is that simple. In the last few years, I've completely dedicated myself to becoming aware of what I'm giving my attention to. And I have found that when I'm unhappy, when I'm feeling miserable, it's because usually one of the following things. I was either focused on something that was real but out of my control, or I was focused on a scenario that I was creating in my head of an imagined slight to me or an imagined conversation with someone else that wasn't serving me. Or I was stressed because I didn't think something was going to work in my favor. In fact, I was creating scenarios in the way in which it might go when it turned out bad. Focus and expectation. Those two things have more power in predicting your future and your happiness than any other two things I can think of. I'm pretty aware of my thoughts anymore. It's not perfect, but it's never going to be, and I'm glad because that's what keeps me growing. Unequivocally, I credit my awareness to my meditation practice every single morning. It's a practice that seems in the moment like it's not doing anything, but the real benefit comes in the form of noticing throughout the day when your focus is making you miserable. When you're aware of that, you're able to fix it. And slowly but surely, you recognize that even though you're never going to be able to control the things that happen in your life, you can control your response to them. My challenge to you is to note the times when you feel miserable. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you thinking about? What are you expecting out of your life? So often, input from the environment around us is what's tripping us up. True happiness comes from within, but you got to be willing to quiet your mind to find it. And that's when you realize a lot of your miserableness is coming more from your mind than anything that's going on in reality. Share this with 3 people you'd love to see happy. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together. And I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.